Hello guys, welcome to IIM Kozhikode series. I am going to be dealing with your verbal ability. So, if you have seen the previous video, we have clearly mentioned that for verbal ability, he has given us three aspects. One is RC, next comes your vocab, then comes your grammar. Okay, so in this video, we are going to start with RC, right? So, let's see what are the different types of questions that you might face in this RC. Okay, see, there are a lot of types when it comes to questions in RC. See, when you were in high school, you must have gone through some, in intermediate, IP intermediate itself, you have RCs in your IP English, right? And if you have given the other IIM Rohtak or Indore, you must have been already familiar with the RC type of questions. So, some of them are very explicit. As you know, explicit is something like, they're gonna ask like whatever is mentioned in the passage, and some of them are implicit, meaning you have to infer the options given. You have to think a bit and then you have to go for it. The indirect answer, you'll be searching for the indirect answer. And then there are some mood, tone, title, strengthening and weakening arguments, assumptions, and assumptions. These are the types of questions we have, right? So let's deal with them one by one. Yeah, so let's look at the tone of the passage. So what is this tone? The tone is nothing but it's the author's attitude. Okay, what is the author feeling by reading that particular passage? What do you think the author's view is? How is the author's emotion? That is what tone of the passage conveys. So generally, some common types of tones are positive, negative, neutral, and mixed. You can see in positive, we generally have you'll be given options, right? You'll be given options, and in those options, you might find optimistic, appreciative, celebratory. I don't think there's particular need to explain each and every word here, right? And negative is when something is sarcastic or critical. Skeptical is when it's doubtful. And when it comes to neutral is something where it's like factual, objective, to the point, and it's just analyzing stuff based on the given circumstances, right? Then we have mixed, where it's like hopeful but cautious, critical yet respectful. See, please be aware that you need to have a good command on vocabulary, at least try to learn all the types of tones and moods. Okay, go through a vocab page and learn all the types of moods and tones, so that when they're asking you the tone of the passage, you have an actual idea. Okay, try to grasp the emotion behind the author's writing. And how to identify this tone? Look for emotionally charged words, okay, or opinionated phrases, like how does the author feel about this topic. For example, the tragic neglect. See, by the use of adjectives and adverbs itself, you will get to know what the author is feeling. The tragic neglect of the environment, something, right? So he's concerned, he's critical, he is criticizing, he's saying that somebody is neglecting. It's a negative word. The tragic, that too tragically, again, it's emphasizing the neglect, right? So he's concerned and he's criticizing. A brilliant advancement in modern medicine. So obviously it is appreciative, it's celebratory, it's definitely positive, right? Advancement is a positive word, and he's stressing on the on this word by brilliant. He's saying that there is a very huge advancement and it's a very good one, right? So when you try to search for such words, when you try to search for such adjectives, you will grasp the tone of the author. Let's look at some examples now. Let's look at this passage. The growing fascination with space tourism masks a deeper issue, the widening gap between aspiration and responsibility. Okay, he's talking about a gap here. Okay, billionaires are racing to launch themselves into the orbit, are hailed as visionaries, yet their ventures consume staggering resources while contributing little to the solving earthbound crisis. Okay, so what do you think he is doing here? He is actually concerned, right? Environmental degradation, social inequality, and public health emergencies persist, but receive a fraction of the funding or attention lavished on these cosmic escapes. To celebrate such ambition without questioning its ethics reveals more about our appetite for spectacle than our commitment to progress. I think by the last line itself, it is clear that he is criticizing, he is concerned about how we are neglecting the environment but are so fascinated by the space tourism, right? So let's look at the question and the options for this. We have a question here. What is the tone of the passage? Awe-inspiring and admiring. Is he admiring space tourism? No, we have seen that he is concerned. Disinterested and factual. Like, by the words and the adjectives he has used, I think we can say he's not disinterested, he's definitely interested. Critical and reflective, hopeful and imaginative. See, I think by seeing the positive words itself, we can eliminate this, and he was not disinterested, he was definitely criticizing, right? And he was reflecting on how our behavior is. So yeah, for this, option C would be the right answer, right? Yeah, we have option C as the answer. The author critiques the glorification of space tourism while reflection on the neglected real-world issues. Phrases like masks a deeper issue, contributing little, and appetite for spectacle, like we have discussed, right? Let's look at one more example. There's this another passage here. The unexpected revival of handwritten letters in the digital age is not just a nostalgic trend, it is a rebellion. In an era where instant communication is the norm, choosing pen and paper has become a deliberate act of slowness, okay, intention and intimacy. Each stroke of ink resists the logic of efficiency. While email may be quicker, it cannot capture the texture of emotion embedded in handwritten letters or the time invested. Okay, he says that email cannot capture the texture of emotion. It cannot capture the texture of emotion. So he's actually very positive towards the handwritten letters, right? Or the time invested in crafting them. Perhaps in choosing the slower path, we are reclaiming something deeply human. So when he says that we are reclaiming something deeply human, it's definitely a positive thing. He is saying that we are becoming more and more human when we step away from this digital era and go back to our handwritten letters, right? So let's look at the options for this. Is he sarcastic and dismissive? No. We have established that he is very positive. Is it detached and objective? No. He's not just discussing about the information. He is saying how deeply human it is. Is it neutral and analytical? No. He is definitely for it. So is it celebratory and thoughtful? Yes, because he is very happy that we are moving towards handwritten letters. Am I right? Yes? Yeah. The author celebrates the return of handwritten letters as meaningful and intentional. Words like rebellion, deliberate act, reclaiming something deeply human. They show admiration and reflection, right? So this is how by adjectives you can try to identify the tone of a particular passage. See, please remember that the passages here we're discussing for the sake of time and screen size, we are seeing like around maybe 50 to 100 words passage, but in exam you might have a little bit lengthy passage, but the strategy remains the same. Please have this in your mind. Okay, now let's look at what is the mood of a passage. The mood is the emotion that the passage creates in the reader. See, this is very important. There is a difference between mood and tone. Okay, tone is the emotion of the writer and mood is the emotion that he evokes in the reader. Okay, ma'am, it can be same, right? Yes, you can think like that, but let us say a writer is criticizing government in a very sarcastic way. Okay, so what do you think? He's saying that the government is doing so good job, so very good job, that we have drastic ways of building the infrastructure in about 1 year, which generally is completed in China for like 2 months or something like that. Okay, so he's trying to pour out deliberately so many positive words, so his tone is being sarcastic. So what does it evoke in reader? It evokes concern and it evokes skepticism. Maybe the government which is in which is working right now is not the right one, right? So not every time the tone and mood can be the same ones. Okay. Okay, let's look at some common moods. Yeah, it can be reflective. See, If the passage is thought-provoking, it's analytical. Let us say the author remains neutral. Okay, he's just objective and analytical in his passage, but it can be reflective. It can make the reader curious. It can leave the reader confused, inspired, amused, or he can be tensed. Right. So the mood is something which evokes in the reader. How to identify this? Notice how the reader is supposed to feel. Pay attention to the setting, pacing, and emotional language. Okay. Yeah, tone is author's emotion, mood is reader's experience. Let's look at some examples for this. Let's look at passage 1. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the village fell into a familiar silence, the silence of peace, but one heavy with anticipation. The drought had stretched on for months, and each cloudless sunset felt like a cruel reminder. Children no longer played outdoors. Their laughter had been replaced by the anxious whispers of adults watching the sky with desperate hope. Every day was a test of endurance, and every evening brought the unspoken question, will it ever rain again? See how beautiful this is. Let's look at the options we have. Okay, so what is the mood created by the passage? Is it joyful and festive? He says the children are not laughing anymore, right? It's definitely not joyful. Is it confident and determined? He's leaving it with a question, like, will it ever rain again? So no, he's not confident that it will rain again. Proud and heroic, is there any aspect of proud in that? No. Tense and anxious, yes, because they are waiting for rain. Children are not playing and people are just, whispering. Adults are whispering whether it will rain again or not. So definitely it would be B. Let's look at it. Yes, and yeah. Imagery, heavy with anticipation, cruel reminder, desperate hope. See, these are the words. See, I have deliberately put these words here so that you will keep observing how to underline these adjectives and choose the right mood. Creates a mood of anxiety and emotional tension, reflecting villagers' growing despair and uncertainty towards the rain. Okay, let's look at next question. Yeah. Standing amidst the towering redwoods, she felt a stillness she hadn't known in years. No notification burst, no distant horn broke the spell, only the whisper of leaves high above. It was as if time had folded inward, giving her a moment of untouched by obligation or noise. She closed her eyes and breathed, not just air but something rarer, presence. So now let's look at the options here. Okay, what is the mood created here? Overwhelmed and fearful, lonely and regretful, serene and contemplative, suspicious and guarded. Okay, is there any kind of suspicion here? No, it's not. Regretful, do you see anything regretful? Lonely, yeah, she is alone, but is there anything regretful? No. See, make sure that only when two words match, only then it would be the answer. Okay, overwhelmed and fearful, there was nothing fearful. And see, overwhelmed is when you are like filled up with a lot of emotion. It can be tension, it can be a lot of anger. When you're overwhelmed, that means you're full of emotion and you can't process things properly. So that is not here. Okay, it was serene. Serene is when something is peaceful, when something is very still. Okay, that is serene. And contemplative is when you contemplate, you think a lot, you reflect a lot. So that is what contemplative is. Yes, that is what is being described in the passage. Yeah, language evokes peace and inward reflection, right? With such, the mood is calm, introspective and serene. Introspective is when you look inwards, right? That is what contemplation means. Okay, we have one more type of questions here. How to choose the title of a passage? This is, I think, very, very common. Okay, so see, there might be many options which are very close. Okay, it's not just about central idea or message. That definitely is. You should also look at the scope. Okay, sometimes among the 4 options given, 2 might be very close. What you have to do is, which option covers the larger aspects Okay, from the given passage, like 2 or 3 paragraphs from the 250 words, which option captures large scale amount of information? So that is what you have to look for. So yeah, you can do, you can also go with this, read the intro and conclusion, identify main theme here, and eliminate titles that are too narrow, too broad, something which are like very vague or factually incorrect, focusing on side examples. Okay, so does this title represent what the passage is fundamentally about? What titles? They are just catchy phrases. Yeah, this will be a trap, definitely. Without relevance to the passage, you might feel it is relevant, but check it twice before answering these kind of questions, especially when you find two options very, very confusing. Okay, let's look at one example here. In cities designed for speed, slowness has become a form of resistance. Sidewalk cafes, handwritten journals, community gardens, these aren't just quiet hobbies, they are ways people push back against the culture of urgency. Slowing down allows reflection, deepens relationships, and restores a sense of place. In an economy that rewards multitasking and round-the-clock availability, choosing stillness is radical. The slow movement isn't about nostalgia, it's about reclaiming control over time itself. It's a wonderful passage. Let's see the options. Okay, so what is the title? Which of the following? The dangers of multitasking. Is he speaking anything negatively? Yes. He says he agrees with slow living, or he's appreciative of the slowness we are choosing. But is he talking about the negatives of multitasking? No, that is not happening. Right? The end of urban productivity, no, he's just mentioning, right, we are choosing this, but this is something which can indirectly go towards that, like if you're not multitasking, the productivity might come down. This is something indirect, it doesn't stand with the fundamental idea of the passage. Modern life and the need for technology, this is completely out of scope. I think you can agree with me. The quiet power of slow living, yes, this is what he is suggesting, that is what he is talking about here. Right? Passage highlights how slow living is a purposeful, empowering alternative. Right? Okay. Let's look at another example. For centuries, maps were seen as neutral tools, guides to get from one point to another. But maps are not just records of geography, they are instruments of perspective. A map maker decides what to include, what to emphasize, and what to leave out. Borders are drawn, landmarks are named, scales are chosen, all influenced by cultural, political, and economic agendas. Thus, maps shape how we see the world as much as they reflect it. Okay, again, a beautiful passage. Let's see the options for this. Okay, how to read a map correctly? Like, did we have any directions given in that passage? No, you can say it's not. The science behind cartography. Cartography is nothing but the study of maps, making maps. So no, we did not discuss any science there. Yeah. Why maps are losing relevance? No, it's talking about how they are very useful, right? How are these maps made? Maps, mirrors, and manipulators of reality. That's what he talks about, right? In the last line, how even political and economic agendas might influence the map making, right? So this would be your right answer. C would be your right answer. Let's check it out. Yes, C is the right answer. Yeah, how maps reflect both reality and influence perception. Yeah, captures the dual role, right? Okay. So, in this video, we have seen about tone, mood, and title. Let's discuss some more types in the next video.